Have you ever wondered why some women seem to carry an aura that silences rooms before a word is spoken? There is no crown upon their head, no jeweled scepter in their hand, and yet the atmosphere bends around them. Their power is not the loud, external kind that demands validation. It is the quiet, unshakable authority of the spirit. Carl Jung might have called it the emanation of the self, the rare alignment of conscious strength with unconscious depth. Such women appear almost otherworldly, as though they have already walked through storms that others still fear to approach. These women are not merely admired, they are felt. Their presence carries the weight of 1,000 silent battles fought in the shadows of the psyche. Jung knew this, that true power is never the result of escaping suffering, but of transmuting it into wisdom. And so, the unseen marks of women with high spiritual power are etched not upon their faces, but in the invisible field of their being. It is in the way they know when to speak and when to remain silent. It is in the piercing clarity of their gaze, as though they see through the masks people desperately cling to. But here is the paradox you must confront. Power of this kind does not come without cost. The woman who embodies it has faced her shadow and refused to look away. She has seen her rage, her envy, her fears, her longing for approval, and instead of burying them, she has dared to sit with them, to learn from them. Can you imagine doing the same? To strip away every illusion you hold about yourself and confront the unpolished truth of your own being? That is the crucible in which spiritual power is born. Jung wrote of individuation, the lifelong process of becoming whole by integrating the unconscious into consciousness. The spiritually powerful woman is not merely strong in the conventional sense. Her strength lies in her wholeness. She does not amputate parts of her soul to appear pleasing. She does not deny her femininity, nor does she overcompensate with a hollow imitation of masculinity. She allows both her softness and her ferocity to coexist, and in doing so, she becomes untouchable. The Stoics would recognize her too, for she embodies their counsel, that nothing external can truly harm the one who governs her inner citadel. Look closely, and you will notice how such women move differently in relationships. They are not enslaved by the desperate hunger for attention that drives so many into the arms of those who cannot hold them. Instead, they radiate a subtle knowing that love is not a cage, but a mirror. They recognize projection when it occurs. When a man casts his unhealed mother wounds onto her, or when a friend resents her for embodying what they secretly lack. Rather than shrinking under the weight of these projections, she holds her ground, unafraid to let others confront their own shadows in her presence. And you, do you see how dangerous such presence can feel to those still asleep? It awakens what they would rather keep hidden. The unseen marks of these women are not medals of glory, but scars transformed into symbols. She may have known betrayal and yet emerged with compassion. She may have walked through abandonment and still chose connection. She may have touched the abyss of despair but refused to drown in it. This alchemy of suffering into wisdom is what Jung meant when he said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." The spiritually powerful woman is one who has made peace with her darkness and wears it like an invisible crown. Consider her silence. It is not emptiness, but a silence that unsettles. In her quiet, you are confronted with your own noise, your own distractions, your own avoidance. She has no need to shout her worth, because she has already retrieved it from the depths of her being. Her worth is self-anointed, untouchable by gossip, comparison, or fleeting admiration. And here is where many falter, because if your worth depends on others noticing you, it is not worth but dependency. Ask yourself, how much of what you call confidence is still chained to external applause? The spiritually powerful woman has broken that chain. She knows the secret Jung whispered between the lines of his work, that wholeness is not perfection, but integration. She does not seek to be flawless. Instead, she seeks to be real, and in being real, she becomes radiant. You may think you want her beauty, her charisma, her magnetism, but what you really envy is her freedom, the terrifying, intoxicating freedom of a woman who no longer dances for crumbs of validation. And so the unseen marks are not mystical at all, though they appear so. They are psychological scars turned into strengths, shadows integrated into light, pain transfigured into presence. They are the marks of a woman who has walked into her inner underworld and returned, not unscathed, but reborn. Jung called this individuation. The ancients called it initiation. Whatever the name, the effect is undeniable. She has become a mirror for the unconscious of all who meet her. Some will love her, some will fear her, but none will forget her. Such women embody paradoxes that ordinary eyes cannot easily comprehend. They are both tender and unyielding, luminous yet shadowed, receptive yet fiercely self-contained. The paradox itself is their secret. They have accepted that life is not an equation to be solved, but a tension to be held. Jung wrote that the greater the tension between opposites, the greater the energy born from their union. This is why their presence feels electric, as though standing before a fire that burns without consuming. And yet, you must realize that this kind of fire is not inherited, nor is it gifted by fortune. It is cultivated in solitude, in nights of tears that no one witnessed, in the long silence after betrayal when the world expected her to crumble. Most do crumble, but she transmuted the collapse into construction. Where others saw ruins, she saw the raw material for a temple within herself. If you have ever wondered why you cannot forget such a woman once you've encountered her, it is because she awakens the part of you that secretly longs to build your own temple. There is an archetypal dimension at play here. In Jungian terms, she carries within her the anima in its highest form, not as a projection in a man's unconscious, but as an embodied force of life itself. She is both the nurturer and the destroyer, the one who brings comfort and the one who unmasks illusion. When she loves, it is not shallow affection. It is initiation. To stand in her presence is to be tested, for she will not allow you to remain half asleep. Without words, she challenges you. Will you rise to meet your own soul, or will you shrink back into the comfort of mediocrity? The Stoics understood this quality well, though they seldom spoke of it in feminine terms. They knew that true power is not control over others, but mastery over oneself. Seneca declared that he who conquers himself is mightier than he who conquers cities. This woman embodies that wisdom. She does not fight for dominance because she has no inner war left to project outward. She has already disarmed the tyrant within her, the harsh critic, the needy child, the abandoned lover, and in doing so, she becomes a sovereign being. And sovereignty, once achieved, cannot be feigned. Do you see how differently she walks into a room? Not hurried, not seeking eyes, not scanning for approval. She walks as though the ground itself welcomes her steps. The spiritually powerful woman is grounded in a way others only pretend to be. She is not hurried because she trusts the unfolding of time. She is not desperate because she trusts her own ability to rise. This calm authority unsettles those who feed on chaos, for they cannot manipulate a woman who is no longer bound by fear of loss. But her power does not always look like strength in the conventional sense. Sometimes it looks like vulnerability, the courage to say, "This hurt me," without collapsing into victimhood. Sometimes it looks like walking away, not because she doesn't care, but because she values her peace more than the illusion of being needed. And sometimes it looks like forgiveness, not to absolve the one who harmed her, but to release herself from the poison of carrying their shadow. This is where Jungian shadow work and Stoic detachment meet. She learns to let go, not because she is weak, but because she knows her energy is too sacred to be wasted on chains. For those who encounter her, the effect is dual. Some feel profoundly seen, as if for the first time in their lives. Others feel threatened, for she does not bend to their projections. A man who has not confronted his own darkness will see in her a mirror too sharp to endure. He may call her intimidating, difficult, unattainable. But the truth is simpler. She refuses to play the role his unconscious scripts demand. She is not here to mother him, to flatter his fragile ego, or to absorb his chaos. She stands as her own axis, and either he rises into his own wholeness, or he drifts away. And you, if you are listening closely, perhaps you feel the stirrings of recognition. Perhaps you sense that this power is not something foreign, but something dormant within you. Ask yourself honestly, how often have you betrayed yourself for comfort? How many times have you chosen silence when your soul was begging to roar? How many masks have you worn so that others would love you, when deep down you longed for them to love the truth of who you are? The spiritually powerful woman refuses such betrayals. Her unseen marks are not symbols of superiority but of radical self-loyalty. This is why she can give love without becoming enslaved by it. This is why she can endure solitude without crumbling. This is why she can look into the face of rejection and smile, because she knows rejection does not define her. It reveals the smallness of those unable to hold her magnitude. Such women are rare, not because they are born different, but because so few dare to pay the price of becoming whole. There is a mystery that clings to women of high spiritual power, an aura that no performance can imitate. It is not beauty alone, though beauty often seems to follow them like an afterglow. It is not charm, though their words can move hearts with uncanny precision. What you feel is something older, something archetypal, as if you are standing in the presence of an ancient priestess who carries the secrets of forgotten temples in her blood. Jung would say that this is the archetype of the great mother and the wise woman emerging into consciousness, not as myth, but as living reality. Such women embody myth because they embody wholeness. Do you know how different their relationship with power is from what the world teaches? The world tells women that power is attention, conquest, or dominance. But their power is not derived from the applause of others. It is carved from the silence of inner confrontation. They have looked at their fears, of aging, of being abandoned, of being unseen, and rather than deny them, they have woven them into their strength. Every scar becomes a symbol. Every failure becomes a teacher. Every rejection becomes proof that their value was never conditional in the first place. And here is the unsettling truth. People sense this in them. Without speaking, without effort, they force those around them to confront the emptiness of their own masks. Imagine standing near someone who refuses to live in falsehood. Your excuses crumble. Your pretenses dissolve. Your hidden insecurities crawl to the surface because their presence leaves no shadows unlit. That is why these women often walk alone. Not because they cannot attract others. They can attract multitudes. But because few can withstand the intensity of their authenticity. The Stoics spoke of tranquility, the unshakable calm of the one who has mastered themselves. Epictetus insisted that no one can truly harm you unless you hand them the keys to your mind. The spiritually powerful woman has taken this truth and embedded it into her being. She does not hand out her keys. She listens, she loves, she gives, but always from a center that remains sovereign. This sovereignty is her unseen mark. You cannot enslave her with promises of wealth, beauty, status, or romance. She takes them if they come, she lets them go if they leave. For her, everything external is transient. Her center is eternal. When you observe her, you might notice a strange quality. She does not compete. In a culture where women are taught to fight for attention, for validation, for a place at the table, she simply builds her own table. And if no one joins her, she eats alone with dignity. This refusal to scramble for scraps confuses those who are still addicted to comparison. Yet it also attracts those secretly starving for authenticity. You may even feel a pull, a magnetic urge to know her, to be near her, to understand her. But beware, She does not reveal herself to the curious. She reveals herself only to the worthy, to those who approach with humility and honesty. Her love, when it is given, is transformative. It is not a gentle indulgence that soothes your ego, but a mirror that exposes your soul. Many men fall in love with such women, but few stay, because her love requires them to rise. She does not beg, she does not chase, she does not bargain. She chooses, and when she chooses you, she sees into you. That can feel like salvation, or it can feel like destruction, depending on how much of yourself you are ready to face. Jung taught that love is the great revealer of the unconscious, for in loving another, we inevitably confront our own projections. With her, this confrontation is unavoidable. But notice something else. She does not apologize for her depth. In a world that rewards surface-level living, she chooses depth over convenience, meaning over comfort, truth over approval. This choice is not without pain, but it is precisely this pain that gives her an intensity others cannot imitate. Have you ever felt hollow after a shallow connection, after giving yourself to someone who did not see you? She has too. But instead of numbing the pain, she let it carve her, refine her, shape her into a vessel for something greater. This is why her presence feels like gravity. She has become weight itself. The weight of someone who cannot be moved by superficial winds. And perhaps you are beginning to realize something uncomfortable. Her power is available to you too. It is not her face, her voice, her circumstances that give her this aura. It is her willingness to descend into herself, to endure solitude, to confront pain, to integrate shadow. The path is not easy. It will strip you of illusions, of false comforts, of the applause you once chased like air. But what you gain in return is immeasurable, an authority that cannot be stolen, a peace that cannot be shaken, a magnetism that requires no performance. This is the unseen inheritance of women who dare to walk the path of individuation. They do not become perfect. They become whole, and wholeness, once embodied, is power beyond measure. The unseen marks of such women become most visible in the quiet moments when no one is watching. Alone, they do not reach desperately for distractions. They can sit with silence, allowing it to stretch like an ocean around them. This silence does not crush them. It strengthens them. For in silence the voices of the unconscious rise, and while others flee from these whispers, she listens. Jung understood that what we refuse to face in the unconscious will rule us from the shadows. The spiritually powerful woman reverses this fate by turning inward, by daring to dialogue with what others suppress. She makes peace with the ghosts haunting her, and in doing so, she frees herself from being haunted at all. Notice how she handles suffering. When life breaks others into fragments, she does not deny her pain, nor does she wallow endlessly in it. She feels it fully, even to the point of trembling, but then she asks, "What is this pain trying to teach me?" This is the Stoic within her, the Seneca who whispers that misfortune is the raw material of virtue. She transfigures her wounds into wisdom. This does not make her untouchable. It makes her profoundly human, yet profoundly unshaken. To know her is to know resilience in its most elegant form. In relationships, this manifests as a radical form of love. She does not attach herself from need, but from abundance. Her love is not a chain, but an offering. If you step into her life, you will feel cherished, but you will also feel tested. She does not allow her presence to be consumed by those who refuse to grow. Have you ever wondered why some men fear powerful women? It is because such women cannot be controlled through guilt, seduction, or manipulation. They are immune to the childish games of the insecure. Their worth has already been reclaimed from the abyss, and so no one else can define it. The Jungian shadow plays out vividly here. A man who encounters her may project his unacknowledged fears, his unmet longings, his hidden wounds onto her. He might call her too much because he has not yet confronted his own smallness. He might label her cold because she does not bend to his demands. But she sees through these projections, not with arrogance, but with clarity. She does not internalize them. She simply reflects them back, as if holding a mirror to his soul. That mirror is a gift, but many run from it, unable to bear the sight of themselves. Yet even when people flee, she does not chase. This is another unseen mark, the ability to let go with dignity. For her, attachment is sacred, but freedom is even more sacred. She knows that clinging corrodes love, that desperation depletes attraction, that control suffocates intimacy. So she lets others go if they must, not from indifference, but from trust. Trust in the unfolding, trust in herself, trust that nothing meant for her soul can truly be lost. Do you see how dangerous such trust is in a world built on fear? It is the kind of trust that cannot be manipulated, because it cannot be broken. This detachment gives her an uncanny sense of calm. Even in the face of chaos, she remains composed. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." She has realized this. Her emotions may stir, storms may rage, but at her core there is a stillness that others can feel. It unnerves those who thrive on drama, because they cannot provoke her into chaos. Her calm is not apathy. It is mastery. Look deeper, and you will see her generosity. High spiritual power does not harden the heart. It softens it. But her softness is not naivete. It is chosen, deliberate. She can forgive without forgetting. She can give without emptying herself. She can love without losing herself. This is the rare alchemy of wisdom and compassion, a balance that few achieve. Those who receive her kindness feel nourished, but they also feel accountable. For her kindness is not blind indulgence. It is a call to rise higher, to live more truthfully, to shed the masks that diminish the soul. Her life, then, becomes less about external conquest and more about alignment. She no longer chases what does not resonate with her essence. She values depth over volume, truth over popularity, soul over surface. This is why her friendships are few but profound, her partnerships rare but transformative. She is not afraid of being misunderstood, because she no longer lives for understanding, she lives for authenticity. And perhaps this is the greatest unseen mark of all, the quiet certainty that she belongs to herself. Before being a lover, a daughter, a friend, she is her own guardian. She has retrieved her power from every place she once left it, in broken relationships, in unworthy hands, in old wounds, and she wears it now as an invisible crown. You can sense it in her posture, in her gaze, in her silence. There comes a moment when the journey of such a woman reaches a turning point, when the fire that once consumed her becomes the light that guides her. She has walked through shadows. She has borne the weight of betrayals. She has tasted solitude until it no longer frightened her. Out of this crucible emerges not a hardened figure but a luminous one. The unseen marks of her spiritual power become unmistakable. A serenity that cannot be bought, a confidence that cannot be shaken, a love that cannot be reduced to dependency. The culmination of her path is individuation, Jung's great vision of wholeness. She has gathered the scattered fragments of her soul, called back the exiled parts she once rejected, and integrated them into her being. Her anger no longer consumes her. It sharpens her boundaries. Her grief no longer drowns her. It deepens her compassion. Her desire no longer enslaves her. It fuels her creation. This is the profound secret. She has not erased her shadow. She has befriended it. And in this integration, she becomes radiant in a way that no performance can counterfeit. What others call power, she calls presence. What others call charisma, she calls truth. She no longer seeks to be admired. She seeks to be aligned. And paradoxically, in this very refusal to seek, she becomes magnetic. People gravitate toward her not because she offers them the illusions they crave, but because she embodies the reality they fear to face. Standing near her, you cannot help but confront the ways you betray yourself. She does not preach it, she simply lives it, and her life becomes an unspoken sermon of authenticity. The Stoics would see in her the image of freedom. Epictetus would recognize her mastery of the inner world. Marcus Aurelius would see his meditations embodied in her composure. Seneca would nod at her refusal to waste her soul on triviality. She has become what they called the sage, though her form is feminine, her wisdom woven from wounds, her strength seasoned by softness. She is the union of opposites that Jung taught, the anima and animus, the conscious and unconscious, the shadow and the light. Now when she enters love, she does so not from need, but from fullness. She does not chase validation, nor does she settle for half-hearted devotion. She chooses with a quiet decisiveness that terrifies those accustomed to power games. She knows that love is not about completing her, but about expanding her. And so she waits not for the one who will rescue her, but for the one willing to walk beside her, equally whole, equally sovereign. If such a one never comes, she remains unbroken, because she has already become her own companion. For those watching, the lesson is clear, though often resisted. You cannot possess such a woman. You can only meet her, you cannot confine her. You can only rise with her. To demand that she dim her light is to ensure she will leave you behind. To fear her depth is to reveal your own unreadiness. But to honor her, to embrace her, to stand as her equal, that is to step into a love that transforms both souls. And now, imagine yourself reflecting upon her path. Perhaps you realize that you too have the capacity to embody such power. It does not require a perfect life. It requires the courage to face your imperfections. It requires shadow work, self-honesty, and the refusal to sell your soul for approval. It requires the discipline of the Stoics and the depth of the mystics. And above all, it requires loyalty to yourself, to never again abandon your worth in exchange for crumbs. This is the final unseen mark of women with high spiritual power, rebirth. They emerge from their trials not bitter but luminous. They live with the lightness of detachment, the richness of authenticity, and the grace of one who no longer fears rejection or solitude. For they know they are whole. They know they are sovereign. They know that their value was never meant to be negotiated.